Hello. I was only when I got up on stage here, I started getting a bit nervous. My name's Scott Millar. For those who don't know me, I used to, still do. Very strange. We'll talk about it later in the pub. I was CTO of XR Studios, so with JT and the rest of the crew, designed and built this lovely space that we have here now. Other things are happening, doing different things. As I say, another story for another time. The very good relationship with Stage Precision team in Germany. I've been working with them for a long time, can't even remember how many years. And we've been working with their sister company, Bright, as well. So they couldn't make it over here. Tony and Sarah are here from Stage Precision, but none of the technical team could get here, so they asked me to make a quick talk on behalf of Stage Precision to chat about Stage Precision from the sort of perspective of a user of Stage Precision. It's going to be called SP from now on, so I just wanted to make sure you got the name before we go on. So Stage Precision is a software company. They have currently 3.5 products. Space Composer is in is beta at the moment, but will be out soon. So 4 products: Stage Precision, Shield, Space Composer, Gateway. Very quickly, Stage Precision is the core tool. It's their first tool they built, and it is an incredibly powerful piece of software for connecting everything together. It's probably the easiest way to talk about it. Shield is a plugin that they've written for Unreal, and allows you to control Unreal from Stage Precision. It also has a rendering engine that they've built on top of the Unreal rendering engine for augmented reality or for pure output and other various fun things. So sort of control and rendering. Space Composer is a new tool they're bringing out to help the sort of AR workflows. So you can do Unreal, you can do Notch, I think even Touch Designer maybe is going to get in there. But essentially it's a tool for bringing together lots of different graphics engines and getting an output from them easily. Gateway is a small little service that you run on a lot of machines that allows you to control the machine. So you've got 10 render nodes, you have Gateway installed on them, you can restart them, you can run command prompts, etc. So, very quickly, SP, this is kind of the logic on it. It is a tool that sits in the middle of everything that you see up there. And that's the very much the gist of it. And their entire concept is just to make all of the connections between all of that stuff easy. And I'll give them credit, they've done a very good job of that. So, a bunch of use cases. I'll let you read those yourselves quickly to glance at, but essentially you can see you can do a lot of things with it. And that's one of the reasons why it's becoming a more and more used tool in this world. One big thing to say, it is not a media server per se, but it allows you to control a lot of media servers. So it's one thing that we joke with them a lot about, but it is something to make very clear. This is SP. This is just one of their demo scenes. Their larger presentation, longer presentation, they talk through all this, but in general, on the left, bottom left, you've got a bunch of inputs. Top left, you have objects that are in the software here in the scene. You've got this visualizer, lovely 3D visualizer. Very top, you've got timeline. In the middle, you've got some control buttons, and it's called boards, and you can do lots of node-based connections. So if you want to do math, you don't have to write Python. You just connect a bunch of lines together, and it works. On the right there is parameters for all of the above. So let's see if this plays. Yep, little sizzle reel. Should be audio, maybe not. I didn't build this place. I'll just sing along. That's Stage Precision, it's really good. Look at all the things we can do. No, so I'll just talk. It's much easier. I can do that. So Stage Precision, they have a sister company, Bright. Not the same company, to be very clear, but there's a bit of overlap with some of the staff. But Bright is a production company over in Frankfurt in Germany, and it was sort of out of some of the projects that they've been doing that Stage Precision was born. And there's another bit of software Michael Handeman wrote called Stage, which he wrote for Cinema 4D many moons ago, and that's kind of where this all came from. So because they're one of the biggest, best things that Stage Precision one of the good things for working with stage precision is that the people that are working on it are production people. Their background is production. Axel is a lighting programmer for many years on the road. They do a lot of content in-house, so they're writing this tool to help them solve the problems that they're coming up against every day. And we all know the challenges of production are very different from the challenges of being a developer and writing code. So, user perspective, why SP? In our normal lives, if you have a problem and you add money to it, you generally get a solution. In video technology world, my kind of concept for a lot of it is if you add stage precision to a problem, you also get solutions. The top one also works in our world. It's just sometimes harder to get more money. So, because I'm a user and not a straight up SP salesperson, that's Sarah and Tony's job, I'm going to just be very, very, very open about the kind of mindset that I have when looking at SP. Generally, anyone who knows me knows that I love Touch Designer because it's amazing. Ben will tell you all about it. He's in the audience somewhere. Real-time graphics and data, Touch Designer. If you want to write your own code, there's a lot of stuff that can be done with that. If you're making real-time or rendered graphics, use Notch or Unreal if you really have to. Real-time control, Companion these days is fantastic and used in a huge amount of shows. Where stage precision then comes in is this concept of real-time data and control. And when you want to just bring all of this stuff into one place, the biggest delta between stage precision and Touch Designer is just in stage precision, they've done a really good job of removing there's not so much coding. You're not writing as many lines of code. Now, like everything, everyone will argue you can do stuff in either a bit of software, but stage precision just has kind of gone down a path, which is a good path to go down, and not necessarily one the others should go down, but a good path to go down of just drag the thing in and it just works. Note at the bottom there, it obviously works with all of this stuff, however you want to connect it together. So, where I've used SP, I've can be pretty much has been my time at XR Studios, so we can kind of take it. That's where we've done a lot of these projects. Virtual production, augmented reality, interactive immersive media, and show control. So, virtual production, why SP? One of the best, SP was built out of the concept of taking lots of 3D data and just trying to wrangle it together. One of the best examples for that virtual production, and we've used it a couple of times in this stage, if we we've got Stipe red spies by the dozen in here, they need to see the dots in the roof. If we put what's that big light called? I've forgotten. If we cover this in cloth to get, what's the word? That's the one. If we put a big softbox in here, red spy cameras can't see the dots, so they lose tracking. We've also in here got a follower system from Stipe, so we can use the spider tracking. Now, when we're in the stage and we're not doing full XR, the spider tracking works really well. When we're outside the stage, we need red spy to get the really, really accurate tracking for XR. So, with stage precision, we can build really cool systems where we're tracking a camera with both systems at the same time, and as the camera comes into a certain zone, it just, if there's ever so slight discrepancy, it'll just blend those two systems together, and it'll use a spider in here and a red spy out there, and that's fully automated. And that's, for stage precision, that's a really simple thing. Like they'll say, oh, that's just a couple of nodes, it's done. For us, and when you're doing shoots and things, when so much stuff's moving around, to have that just automatic ability is a huge tool. So that's one bit. Adding to that, it works with every tracking system. You can build your own tracking system quite easily, probably using the fact that stage precision can bring all these bits of information in. You can get lens data from one setup and position from another and do whatever kind of crazy setup you want to get. And at the very end, you bring it all together and you output one protocol to your media server. Real and virtual lighting is another huge part of SP. They've a monstrous, and what I say, Axel and Michael both lighting backgrounds. So there's a lot of really, really good lighting tools. Big thing for real and virtual lighting is you build your full sort of lighting rig. You could dynamically say, well, the camera's in this position, so I want these physical lights and these lights to be virtual. And you can set SP up so it will send certain DMX to certain lights, and so it might send Some might only use this half of the room's real lights, and this half of the room might be virtual lights, and you can set all those control systems up. And it's just, the whole thing is just how do you automate these things when you're on a shoot? You just don't want to have to be worrying about this problem over and over again. You get this, you get the visualizer, you see everything happening in real time. Lens and camera calibration. If anyone's touched anything with virtual production or XR, they know what an absolute arse that is. It's the single biggest hassle with all of this. The guys built some nice tools to solve that problem. And again, it's completely media server agnostic. So your Disguise, your Vertex, your Pixera, whatever system you want to use, you have access to that because SP's kind of linking all this, taking all this information in, making it useful, sending it out. Media server control as well. You can have stage precision control your D3 servers. If you've got other crazy stuff happening that's also feeding in, you can have it control, one Q button can control everything. Yes, you can do that in other bits of software, but there's just a level, it's really, there's a level of control you get in SP, and it's also really nice to have everything in one place. And then last point at the end is that you can control Unreal from Shield, via Shield, which is their plugin, and you don't actually need Shield licenses for that, you just need a basic SP license for that. My time is running out. This might get faster. Augmented reality. They already have camera tracking. They already have lens calibration. They have a rendering system in Shield, and they have Space Composer to render Notch as well. So they have all these things. It's pretty obvious. Augmented reality is really good with SP. At XRS, we used it on a number of shows. We've worked with the Famous Group, who've also used it on a number of shows. Big thing for augmented reality is that they control the entire pipeline. Everything from, if it's Notch or Unreal or whatever the sort of rendering engine is, they do the rendering, they do the calibration, they do the output, and it's all contained in one system, which makes life really easy. On-site lens calibration, they're building some really, really good tools these days to do calibrations with TVs, with boards, with LED screens at stadiums, whatever you want to use. They're building some really, really nice tools. I think they have one in testing at the moment for doing spatial lineup. So they're using some of the LED screens in some of the NFL stadiums, putting patterns on those screens. You know where the screens are, you point the camera at it, you work out where the camera is. Sort of similar a little bit to what the XR stuff's happening here. So all of a sudden you can just flick a broadcast camera on, the guy can move it, and it takes 2 seconds to realign it, which anyone who's done AR in a stadium knows is a huge tool. And again, this is completely irrelevant of every tracking system, and media server. So this is just sitting in the middle doing all the hard work for you. And it integrates with all tracking solutions. Oh, and here's a little video. So there's a little video. This is the first show we did with, this is the first show we did using stage precision. We actually worked with Bright as well, because this is over in Berlin, so it made sense to get those guys along. This is for Valorant. It was a very simple setup, apart from the fact we had to rewrite a lot of code on site, as you do. So we had to do occlusion for the reflections, which was an interesting one to do. They wanted it to be additive and how it added to the background, so we had to do the additive as well. But we had this beautiful glossy floor, and so all the reflections in the AR were AR, and we built boxes around the desks and did all those nice things. So massively successful show. Best bit of this show was when we went to do first rehearsal, and the guys were expecting the AR to be a nightmare, and they were like, AR, are you ready? And we're like, yep, let's go, and it just worked. And it worked from the very first shoot we did the whole way to the very end, which is what we're trying to get to with all of this stuff. And as we all know with AR, it's a hassle adding it to broadcasters. Broadcasters hate us, but we're slowly getting there now, and software like this, where you can just have that reliability, is huge. Interactive immersive media is where I started, so very close to my heart. It's been a while since I've done any of these shows, but again, with SP, why would I, as a user, want to sit down and write an SDK, or implement an SDK into my thing? All I want to do as a user is drag that box in, say, this LiDAR scanner is connected, do this thing with it. And with SP, you get that. And that's the whole thing. You don't want to be writing code. You just want to be doing things. Someone else after this is going to have a very similar opinion on all of that when it comes to software. And huge scalability. So I'll not play this video because my clock is very red, very low, close to 0. I'm just going to show a very quick snippet here. This is one of their big features, which sits onto the show control side of things, which is Director. They've added in, they've been doing all these broadcast shows, and they've realized that they can control all this stuff from broadcast, so they built a system to automate everything. So they've built this incredible rundown system now. You can plan your camera cuts. You can, it's not just, it doesn't just have to cut cameras. You can control any object that, or any piece of data that's coming into the system. I forgot to mention for Valorant, we had the game API. We had a plugin built in SP for the game API, so we had all the real-time stats from the esports game in stage precision to do things with. If I can get out of this. So last thing I'm going to chat on here is show control. SP Director is their kind of overarching timeline system that they've set up, but you could also just have very basic show control buttons and cues. One of the best things is that you can build some of these shows. You have one operator who's got 10 screens in front of him that's trying to do 5,000 things. What we've done in a few of our jobs is we build web pages to give to producers. The producers know what's happening because it's their show. So they would select, right, these are the teams, these are the players. They would input that information on a web page, you know, however many miles away in a truck. And then our operator just had to make sure the timing was correct for everything appearing, so they didn't have to worry about which team was up next. Someone else was dealing with that. So I think we had a couple of people inputting data into one of our shows that was controlling AR and D3 and everything else. So there's a lot of, this part of it's really, really powerful. And then the timeline allows you to keyframe everything, but also one of the biggest ones for especially doing AR, is you can record all the data, and you could record your video with time code, and you record your data with time code, and then when you've only got a cameraman for half an hour, or you've only got the stadium at night for a certain amount of time when it looks correct, you record that, and you can just play this thing back over and over again. So that's a hugely powerful tool. Anyway, SP is really cool. I've eaten 2.5 minutes into Matt's time, so I better stop soon. Tony and Sarah put their hands up. Where's Tony? There's Sarah. There's a little booth set up, a lovely little LiDAR trick that they have going. Go and have a look, have a chat. They'll tell you how much it costs. Very reasonable. And yeah, put SP at the top of your I need something to do this thing list, and you're going to be pretty happy. Anyway, that was my talk. I said a lot of words. Hope you understood. I've got a funny accent.